Fani Willis admitted to a personal relationship with an outside prosecutor she appointed to manage the election interference case.
New details on the relationship between Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and prosecutor Nathan Wade.
Well, I'm sure if you ask Mr. Wade, because he's a male, he would say we ended June or July because physical contact ended then.
State Senate committee investigating misconduct allegations against Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis.
Did you ever go out to eat together, other than the lunches you talked about, during 2019?
The future of Fulton County's prosecution of former President Donald Trump rests in the hands of Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee.
Trump election case. On Wednesday, an appeals court in Georgia agreed to look over a lower court's decision that let Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis keep pursuing the case of election involvement she brought against former President Donald Trump. This is the second time in as many days that the former president has gotten a favorable decision which could push any future trials past the November election when he is expected to be the Republican candidate for president. This move is likely to delay the case. The judge in his Florida case involving classified papers had put off the trial date indefinitely the day before. Trump and some other defendants in Georgia tried to get Willis and her office to drop the case, saying that her friendship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade made her job less impartial.
Fani Willis admitted to a personal relationship with an outside prosecutor she appointed to manage the election interference case.
Did you ever go out to eat together, other than the lunches you talked about, during 2019?
Willis said she and Nathan Wade developed a relationship in 2022.
I don't know. I'm going to say we probably broke bread someplace in 2019. I don't remember it.
Willis denies any claims of misconduct and says there was no evidence that the relationship between her and Wade had prejudiced the case.
In March, Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee decided that Willis did not have a conflict of interest that should have kept him off the case. However, he did allow Trump and the other accused to ask the Georgia Court of Appeals to review their case. On Wednesday, the lower court of review agreed to take the case. After the court makes a decision, the side that lost could ask the Georgia Supreme Court to look at an appeal. Steve Sato, Trump's main lawyer in Georgia, wrote in an email that the former president is excited to tell the appeals court why the case should be thrown out and why Willis should be disqualified for her misconduct in this unjustified, unwarranted political persecution. A representative for Willis wouldn't say anything about the Court of Appeals' move to take the case up. In his order, McAfee said he would keep working on other pre-trial motions regardless of whether the petition is granted and even if any subsequent appeal is expedited by the appellate court. Trump and the others could ask the Court of Appeals to put the case on hold while the appeal is being heard though. Back in March, McAfee wrote in his order that the case had an appearance of impropriety. He told Willis that he could only stay on the case if Wade quit. Hours later, the special prosecutor turned in his retirement. The claims that Willis had unfairly gained from her relationship with Wade caused a rough couple of months for the case.
My private life has nothing to do with the merits of that prosecution.
State Senate committee investigating misconduct allegations against Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis.
You said you didn't want to violate the public's trust. I'm curious, do you think that you've done any kind of damage to this case?
None at all.
And I know that I have not done anything that's illegal. And so I don't feel like my reputation needs to be reclaimed.
Even the public perception of it.
My private life became the focal point of the case.
In mid-February, private details of Willis and Wade's relationship were shared in court. The lawyers' love lives took a back seat to the serious charges against the Republican former president in one of 4 criminal cases. In August, Trump and 18 others were charged with taking part in a large-scale plot to illegally try to overturn his close loss to Democrat Joe Biden in the Georgia 2020 presidential race. The people who were charged with crimes all admitted to breaking Georgia's RICO law, which is a broad law against organized crime. 4 people who were charged in the case have pleaded guilty after making deals with the police. Trump and the others have said they're not guilty. In their appeal, Trump and the other defendants said that McAfee should have removed both Willis and Wade. They wrote that giving DA Willis the option to simply remove Wade defies logic and is against Georgia law. The claims against Willis were first made in public in a move filed in early January by Ashley Merchant, a lawyer for Michael Roman, a former Trump campaign worker and White House aide. The motion said that Willis and Wade were dating in a bad way and that Willis paid Wade a lot of money for his work and then took advantage of him by paying for expensive trips. Willis and Wade both admitted to dating, but they said they didn't start going out together until the spring of 2022. After Wade got hired in November 2021, they broke up last summer. Also, they said in court that they pretty much split the cost of traveling equally, with Willis paying most of the time and Wade getting paid back in cash. Judge to disqualify Willis. A lawyer for one of Trump's co-defendants told a judge that keeping Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis on the Georgia election interference case against Trump and others because she is dating a top prosecutor would hurt public trust in the legal system.
New details on the relationship between Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and prosecutor Nathan Wade.
Well, I'm sure if you ask Mr. Wade, because he's a male, he would say we ended June or July because physical contact ended then.
Tonight we're learning Willis and Wade are admitting to a personal relationship.
Mr. Wade is used to women that, as he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich.
Say they should not be dismissed from the 2020 election interference case involving former President Trump and 18 co-defendants.
After a few days of unusual evidence, the judge started to hear arguments about whether Willis's relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade created a conflict of interest that should have kept both of them out of one of 4 criminal cases against LBJ. A lawyer for co-defendant Michael Roman in the Trump case, John Merchant, told Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee if the court lets this kind of behavior go on, the public will lose all faith in the system. Merchant said that if McAfee fails to disqualify Willis, there is a good chance that an appeals court would overturn the decision and call for a new hearing. Lawyers for Trump and the other defendants say that Willis paid Wade a lot of money for his job and then earned extra money when he paid for their vacations. Even though Willis and Wade have talked about their relationship, which they say ended last summer, they say it doesn't affect the case or cause any problems. They said they didn't start dating until Wade got hired in the spring of 2022 and they shared the cost of their trips. Since it became public in early January, the connection between Willis and Wade had been the main topic of conversation in court and in the public's mind, not the crimes that prosecutors say Trump and his supporters committed while trying to overturn the election, but the personal details of the relationship. At times, the hearings have become strange. For example, Atlanta's mayor watched from the balcony as a former governor of Georgia testified, and Willis' father talked about hiding cash around the house and planning romantic trips. As Trump tries to get back into the White House, the removal of Willis would call into question the most complicated of the 4 criminal cases against him. But that doesn't mean that the charges against him and 14 others will be dropped. McAfee heard about Willis and Wade's personal lives and heard different stories about when they started dating. However, it is still not clear if he will decide that the relationship created a conflict of interest that requires the attorneys to be removed from the case. McAfee said at a hearing before the testimony that the law says disqualification can occur if evidence is produced demonstrating an actual conflict or the appearance of one. He said that he wanted testimony to find out whether a relationship existed, whether it was romantic or not romantic, when it started and whether it continues.
Future of Fulton County's prosecution of former President Donald Trump rests in the hands of Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee.
And decides that, disqualification of Fani Willis and her office are a problem. That puts the case in a little bit of a prosecutorial limbo.
During day 2 of testimony in the misconduct hearing against Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis.
Still wants the DA disqualified, so this appeal will slow down the Georgia case considerably.
They'll have to decide whether or not to disqualify District Attorney Fani Willis and her team from the Georgia election interference case.
McAfee said that those questions were only important when, along with the question of the existence and extent of any personal benefit conveyed as a result of the relationship. A law professor at Georgia State University named Anthony Michael Kreese has been following the case very closely and said that a lot will depend on what standard McAfee uses, a real conflict of interest or the look of a conflict of interest. The standard I think that applies is a real conflict of interest where the evidence shows that Fani Willis made money off of the investigation and the decision she made about charging the 2020 election interference defendants, he said. Kreese said it's hard to say that Trump and his co-defendants' due process rights were broken because Willis and Wade said they broke up before they asked to be charged in the election interference case. Appearance of conflict rules, on the other hand, could be bad for Willis and Wade because the shadow has been cast over the whole thing, he said. If Willis and her office are disqualified, it would be up to a neutral counsel in Georgia that helps prosecuting attorneys to find a new lawyer to take over. That person could either charge Trump and others with some or all of the charges, or they could drop the case completely. The case is probably not going to go to trial before November, when Trump is expected to be the Republican nominee for president, even if a new lawyer continues on the path set by Willis. This is because of the inevitable delay. A grand jury in Fulton County charged Trump and 18 others with trying to keep the Republican speaker in office after he lost the 2020 race to Democrat Joe Biden. Deals with authorities have led 4 people to plead guilty. Trump and 14 others, on the other hand, have pleaded not guilty. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.